I'm going to call our regular council meeting of June 24th, 2025 to order. We have an agenda before us. Mr. Coleman, are there any changes from administration?
Changes from administration. Sure.
Thank you very much. Looking for someone to move the agenda as presented. Councillor Wanchuk, thank you very much. All in favor? Unanimous. We have meeting minutes of our June 10th, 2025 regular council meeting. Looking for someone to move those. Thank you. Councillor Lewis will move those as correct. Anyone notice any errors, omissions, or have any debate on those minutes? See none. All in favor? Unanimous. We're at 4A. 4A is an opportunity for anybody in the audience who would like to address council on an item that is not on the agenda, could do so now. All right, I'm not seeing anyone come forward, so we'll go on to 4B. We have some staff introductions and then some staff recognitions. So we'll start with the staff introductions, and that is Mr. Opstead. So.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to introduce Luke Dion, who is our light equipment operator for parks. Luke has worked for us for a few months already, but he's been extremely busy out in the parks, maintaining and improving our park spaces across the region. Luke is our first full-time parks employee under maintenance, and we're excited to have him and support us all the way through the fall and through the winter on a year-round basis. So welcome to the county.
Come on, congratulations. Welcome. And welcome to the team, and I hope you have a long career here at Riviera.
I'd also like to introduce Amanda Kozilab, who is our team lead for parks. This is again a new position for parks that we're excited to have this year. And as with Luke, she's been extremely busy out in the park areas supporting us. Amanda is the team lead, which means she is a worker operator, but also coordinates and leads activities and responsibilities and quality control within our parks areas. So welcome.
Welcome. Great to have you on our team.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, we have a couple of staff recognitions. So who is first? Board Kent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. I'd like to acknowledge and celebrate Steve Lepp's 20th work anniversary with Ladue County. That's 2 decades of hard work, dedication, and commitment to the county. Steve's GIS experience, skills, and loyalty are truly appreciated, especially with the way things change these days. GIS has cemented itself as a cornerstone in many of our departments, and Steve is our GIS guide, mentor, and guru. Steve has made a positive impact on those around him and always happy to help anyone who asks. As we celebrate this milestone, we also look forward to Steve's continued contributions. His experience and insights are vital to GIS and our future growth. And we thank you, Steve, for 20 years.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm assuming there's been some big changes in 20 years with GIS.
Huge change.
Yeah. Right, well, congratulations and thank you for all your service. And one more.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. I get the opportunity to talk about Shauna Fandry this afternoon. So Shauna started with us in 2000. She started part-time, 2 days a week as an assessment clerk, had such a great experience and really loved assessment that in 2008, she became a full-time assessor while she was still attending school as well to get her designation. So 8 years later, she received her designation and this was in a full-fledged assessor. And in 2024, she accepted the position of manager of assessment. And so that's when I got the opportunity to work with her, which is amazing. I haven't worked with her for too long, but in my time, she has shown just an incredible passion for the assessment profession. I had no idea how much what was around and within assessment, but And she's just barely glazed the surface, but she has such a passion for assessment and such a passion for her team and her family and all those around her. Her staff just talk about how incredibly hardworking she is, how kind, helpful, friendly, and what an amazing sense of humor that she has. For those of you who have talked to her, she will make you laugh every time. So congratulations on 25 years. And I really enjoy working with you. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's one opportunity to boss us around. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We have a 1:45 public hearing. It is 1:36 now, so where would we go to, Mr. Coleman? Or shall we take a brief recess? What is your recommendation?
Mr. Shagan's here, so.
We would do the 5A
Six F one.
6F1. Got you. County Manager's Office Elections Agreement with School Boards. Okay, 6F1 is where we are, and the floor is yours, Mr. Scheidler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This report is in regards to the 2025 elections agreement with school boards. There are 3 recommendations for motions that council approves entering into an agreement with the Black Gold School Division to conduct the 2025 elections for the school division. That council approves entering into agreement with the St. Thomas Aquinas Roman Catholic separate school division to conduct the 2025 elections for the school division, and that council approves entering into agreement for the Elk Island Catholic separate school division to conduct the 2025 elections for the school division. The reasons for this is the 2025 budget for elections included the county conducting the elections for those school divisions, and it's already approved in the budget. The background on this is Leduc County had previously had an agreement and renegotiated that with the school divisions in 2025. And as such, we need to do a housekeeping resolutions just to enter into an agreement to conduct elections for the school boards. And this really is a procedural requirement that council passes the resolution as per the Local Authorities Election Act.
Thank you very much for the report. And so we do have 3 school boards in Leduc County that serve our children.
Yes, we do, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. Any questions on that? I am seeing none. Looking for someone to make the 3 motions. Councillor Lewis? Yes, please.
Okay, that council approves entering into an agreement with Black Gold School Division to conduct the 2025 elections for the school division. That council approve entering into an agreement for St. Thomas Aquinas Roman Catholic separate school division to conduct the 2025.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Separate motions.
Then I've read my first.
The first motion, thank you very much. First motion is on the floor. Any comments? Again, this is pretty much a housekeeping as we heard in the report. So approve entering into the agreement with Black Gold. Any comments, questions, or debate? No, all in favor? That's unanimous. Second motion, please, Councillor Lewis.
Oh, sure. That council approves entering into an agreement for the St. Thomas Aquinas Roman Catholic separate school division to conduct the 2025 election for the school division.
Okay. Again, comments, questions, debate? None, all in favor? And finally, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. That council approves entering into an agreement with the Elk Island Catholic separate school division to conduct the 2025 election for school division.
Thank you very much. Questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Scheidel. Mr.
Chair, there's no one else from administration present, so I would suggest a recess.
We will recess until 1:45. from recess and going to now call our public hearing to order at 1:45 on June 24th, 2025. My name is Merida Blanco and I'll chair this public hearing. All questions and comments shall be directed through me. I will just take a moment and ask council to introduce themselves, starting with Division 1.
Rick Smith, Division 1.
Glenn Balazar, Division 6.
Kelly Lynn Lewis, Division 2.
Cal Verde, Division 3.
Larry Wanchuk, Division 4.
Ray Scobie, Division 7.
Thank you very much. Council is here to listen to the information presented and make a decision on the matter that is the subject of the hearing, which is for Land Use Bylaw 14-25. This is a formal hearing and not a debate. Everyone wishing to speak and who has pre-registered will be given an opportunity to speak once to the matter as called upon by myself as chair. I will call in-person registered speakers first, followed by anyone in attendance wishing to speak in support or opposed to this bylaw. Each presenter must state his or her full name, address, and their interest in this matter, including whether they are in support or opposed to the bylaw. Individuals who do not identify themselves will not be given the opportunity to speak. Presenters are to stay within a 5-minute time limit presentation and are encouraged when speaking to keep the presentation to the point and refrain from restating points raised by previous speakers if possible. If new presentation materials are provided, you may be required to provide a copy to the legislative coordinator. Mr. Colin Richards, Planning and Development, from Planning and Development Department, please introduce Land Use Bylaw 14-25.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're here this afternoon with a recommendation that council provide second and third readings to bylaw 1425, the purpose of which is to adopt land use bylaw 1425 and repeal our current land use bylaw 708. The land use bylaw is one of the most important tools that a municipality has for achieving the strategic vision and goals that are established through the municipal development plan and other policy-led plans adopted for the county. To ensure that our policy plans are aligned with a land use bylaw should be subject to periodical review so that it can stay current, effective, and functional whilst adapting to new and changing visions, trends, and policy directions. The proposed land use bylaw 1425 is presented as a new land use bylaw created from a ground up rewrite, rebuild, and redesign of our current land use bylaw. This also marks the county's first full update of the land use bylaw since land use bylaw 708 was adopted in 2008. The rewrite was necessitated at this time for several reasons. Some of these included the requirement to align the land use bylaw with the changes to the planning process established under the Municipal Government Act, that the county adopted a new municipal development plan in 2019 and has updated it several times since, which the land use bylaw now needs to reflect. The requirement to align with current area structure plans in our major employment area, and that during the 17 years that land use bylaw 708 has been used as the county's regulatory document for determining development permit applications, it has been amended 138 times according to our records. This has evidently created inconsistencies and contradictions that needed to be located and rectified to ensure that the document remains clear and consistent. With respect to the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, the requirement for us to have a land use bylaw is mandated through Section 640. That section directs every municipality to create one that regulates the use and development of land and buildings through such factors as imposing design standards, regulating the development of buildings, providing for the protection of agricultural lands, and providing for any other matters that council consider necessary to regulate land within their municipality. The Municipal Government Act directs that a land use bylaw must provide for specific requirements. These must include dividing the municipality into land use districts, prescribing within each of those districts one or more uses of land or buildings that are permitted or discretionary, the process for making decisions on development permit applications and issuing development permits, establishing how how and to who a notice of development permit decision is given, and establishing the number of dwelling units permitted on a parcel of land. The proposed land use bylaw has been created to ensure alignment with the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, and it includes some of the more recent updates to the Act that were designed to make a more efficient planning process through inclusions such as stipulated maximum times required to make decisions, providing a process and timelines for deeming an application complete, and accounting for which appeal board a decision may be appealed to. With respect to the drafting of Land Use Bylaw 1425, this project has been undertaken as a fully in-house process, where the bylaw has been influenced through 3 distinct rounds of comprehensive public consultation. They've included 8 open houses, in addition to a dedicated project webpage that's offered continuous feedback and discussion opportunities with planning staff throughout the duration of this project. Land Use Bylaw 1425 has also been informed by over 20 project-specific workshops with County Council, where local knowledge has been incorporated in order to create a truly by Leduc County, for Leduc County land use bylaw. As a result of these processes, administration considered that Land Use Bylaw 1425 provides the county with a dependable, fair, and reasonable regulatory planning tool that's current, relevant, effective, and adaptive, that provides clear, concise, consistent, and transparent regulation whilst avoiding unnecessary overcomplication, that reflects the vision of the county set out in the Municipal Development Plan and our other key planning documents, that accommodates current and future development trends whilst protecting key industries, and that facilitates growth and reasonable choice to the county's current and future residents and businesses. This land use bylaw has been designed first and foremost to be readable, understandable, and usable. One thing we heard a lot during our discussions with the public is that the land use bylaw needs to be understandable for our ratepayers. And that is something we've kept in mind throughout the whole drafting process. We've achieved this by using simplified language where possible, by breaking up key parts into small digestible sections, and significantly reducing instances where the reader has to go to several different parts of the bylaw to find the answer for one piece of information, such as how many houses could I have on my 20-acre parcel? During our extensive consultation with the public throughout this project, a comment we heard a lot of was concern that the land use bylaw may start incorporating lots of detailed and restrictive urban-based requirements and principles, particularly in our agricultural and country residential areas. Not only can we confirm that this is not the case for land use bylaw 1425, we can advise that we have taken the necessary steps to ensure that there is no confusion in the bylaw between regulation for our rural areas and our urban area, and that's defined by the boundary of the East Vistas Area Structure Plan. We've achieved this by creating a specific urban growth area section of the bylaw. This is defined by the urban growth area map that is now included in the mapping section of the bylaw. What this means is that any regulation contained within that urban growth section is applicable only to the area inside that defined map. This will keep our urban and rural areas of the county distinct and separate. With respect to the individual parts of Land Use Bylaw 1425, we've tried to retain a degree of familiarity in terms of the overall layout of the document, but we have expanded the number of overall parts to ensure that the bylaw is as easy to use and digest as possible. This includes additional parts such as a new subdivision process part and the urban growth area part that I just mentioned. One of the key highlights of Land Use Bylaw 1425 is our new look and feel land use districts. Each land use district has been designed in our new template to give each individual district its own unique identity. Each district has been created to include more district-specific information than the current districts contain in order to provide more clarity around the purpose, intent, and regulatory parameters of each district. Each district now contains an updated purpose statement which truly aligns with the intent of the district, plus a new addition of an exempt uses table in applicable districts. This table will exist in addition to our bylaw section that outlines the exemptions that exist through most land use districts in the county. And doing this will make understanding districts much easier by containing more information related to that district within that district. In line with that sentiment, each land use district now contains key subdivision information within a distinct subdivision section, providing essential information concerning the type and size of subdivisions allowed in a relevant district. This information complements and accompanies the municipal development plan and the provincial matters related to the subdivision and development regulation for subdivision inquiries and applications going forward. To further achieve the goal of providing more district-specific information within each district and making development parameters easier to understand, our new land use districts include certain key information provided in easy-to-read tables rather than crammed into written paragraphs. These tables include information such as setbacks, minimum and maximum footprints, and height requirements where applicable, and perhaps most importantly of all, key housing information is now included in table format in all applicable land use districts. This approach is anticipated to make understanding housing options much easier than under the current Land Use Bylaw 708, where each land use district directs the reader to a separate section of the bylaw to determine the type of dwelling that can be considered through a lengthy written formula. Under Land Use Bylaw 1425, this table on your left, which will just pop up now, will provide all the same information that Land Use Bylaw 708 provides through the language on the right of the screen. In order to further simplify housing throughout the bylaw and within most applicable districts in the county, we've simplified the general housing regulations and provided clear regulation for each different type of dwelling that can be considered in the county. We've broadened the definition for detached dwelling to allow for a wider range of housing choices, from traditional stick builds to modular, moved-in homes, as well as being able to consider unique style homes that meet the intent of a given district, such as tiny homes or maybe secant homes. We've also created new dwelling types for legal suites, which will make adding a legal basement, loft, or garage suite much easier in most residential districts. And we've also broadened housing choice in our agricultural districts for secondary dwellings, meaning that where a secondary dwelling is currently restricted to a manufactured home only, Land Use Bylaw 1425 would allow for other dwelling types to now be considered. With regard to the overall compendium of land use districts within Land Use Bylaw 1425, the bylaw proposes an overall reduction of districts from 37 to 32. To summarize some of the key district changes, we've replaced the agricultural district with our new agricultural district and agricultural prime district to align the land use bylaw with the municipal development plan. We've deleted the existing agricultural country residential transitional district and placed those lands in either agricultural or agricultural prime, resulting in the inclusion of an agricultural small holdings overlay layer to the district map, and that will align Land Use Bylaw 1425 with the defined small holdings area of the municipal development plan. We've rebranded and redefined our existing industrial agricultural resource district to the Agricultural Support Service District, and we've done this to just better reflect the true intent of that district as one to provide for uses that support existing agricultural operations. We've amalgamated and simplified the two existing manufactured home districts into the singular manufactured home district, which will avoid confusion and district-related repetition in the bylaw. We've updated the C1 commercial district to become the mixed-use commercial district, and now that provides more clarity around the intent and purpose of that district. We've also created an environmental protection district for lands that require added protection from incompatible uses. or to provide essential environmental buffers where they may be required. We've reduced the number of core industrial and business land use districts from 6 down to 4, and we've done that in order to simplify the distribution of land use in our business and industrial areas and to align them with the key statutory plans, such as the Nisku Major Employment Centre Area Structure Plan. We've also identified historical direct control designations throughout the county that no longer serve the requirement for their respective direct control districts. We've now replaced them with an appropriate land use district. For any pre-existing direct control districts that are still operating in accordance with their designations, these have now been retained and their direct control districts have been rewritten into our new district templates. Within Land Use Bylaw 1425, there are certain land use districts that are proposed to remain largely unchanged from our current bylaw, aside from updating them into the new templates and identifying and rectifying any pre-existing errors within. These include all districts located within the boundaries of the Pigeon Lake Area Structure Plan, Wizard Lake Area Structure Plan, and the East Vistas Area Structure Plan. The reason for retaining them largely unchanged at this point is that those districts were specifically created under their respective area structure plans. And as those plans are all anticipated for review and update in the near future, that would be the time that those reviews will be informed by the public through further project-specific consultation, where any updates made to the plans at that time will inform the necessary amendments to their respective land use districts. With respect to the county's existing and future industrial and business areas, Land Use Bylaw 1425 proposes several elements that have been designed to benefit these areas going forward. This has been achieved by reducing the overall number of industrial business land use districts down from 6 to 4, as I just mentioned. This will remove existing confusion and simplify land use in these areas. Those 4 core districts will now consist of the general industrial, light industrial, business park transitional, and general commercial districts. We've redesignated those districts throughout Nisku to ensure alignment with the municipal development plan and other key documents, such as the Nisku MEC area structure plan. We've created the 4 core business and industrial uses to prescribe a wide variety of compatible and complementary land uses, creating a greater range of appropriate development opportunities, as well as redefining and broadening many uses within them to provide for greater choice of appropriate use. We've streamlined the development permit decision-making process by ensuring that the predominant land uses intended in each of those districts are now prescribed as permitted uses instead of discretionary. We've protected existing and future residential developments east of Nisku by maintaining a transitional or protected district where possible that will prohibit development of incompatible land uses to nearby residential developments. And we've also removed 71 direct control designated parcels from Nisku in favor of one of those more appropriate land use districts. I'll just talk for a few minutes about agriculture in the land use bylaw. As a key goal throughout this project was to ensure that the county remains a major agricultural player, protecting and championing agriculture whilst accommodating new and diversified ways of farming and making the most of agricultural lands. That sentiment was also reflected by the public throughout all 3 phases of our public participation. So several major steps were taken to ensure that this occurred and was truly reflected in Land Use Bylaw 1425. Firstly, it was imperative to align our agricultural land use districts with the direction of the county's municipal development plan. To reflect the major update that was incorporated into the rural county land use concept map in 2024 that designated agricultural area A as prime agriculture and area B as other agriculture. We have aligned the land use bylaw with this by replacing the existing agricultural district that currently encompasses the majority of agricultural land in the county, seen in white on this map, with two distinct and separate agricultural districts. Of course, these are the agricultural district and the agricultural prime district. The agricultural prime district aligns the land use bylaw with the municipal development plan by protecting the highest capability agricultural lands from non-agricultural uses. It achieves this by limiting the number of non-agricultural uses contained within the district and focuses available uses around those essential to agriculture, with only limited non-agricultural uses available as discretionary. The agricultural district, which is placed on all agricultural lands not considered prime under the municipal development plan, still supports all those essential and core agricultural and agricultural support uses, plus limited other uses not directly agriculture related, but uses that may be deemed compatible with agriculture or are typically located within agricultural areas. In order to ensure our proposed agricultural districts are as easy to understand as possible, they have, along with all other districts, been designed in our new easy-to-read district templates, which introduce that exemption table to define the uses which are district-specific exemptions within each district. The permitted uses are now clearly separated in distinctly different tables. In addition to this, all land use districts now include essential subdivision information and contain all key information required to build a dwelling through those simple dwelling type tables, providing essential information around how many dwellings and what type of dwelling can be implemented on a parcel under a given size. Land Use Bylaw 1425 also removes the existing restrictions on certain secondary dwellings that require them to only be allowed for a temporary period. It will now allow for a broader choice of dwellings in circumstances where the current bylaw only allows for a manufactured home. In order to support agricultural growth, several new uses have been created, defined, and included as permitted uses in both of these agricultural districts. These include value-added agriculture that supports additional processes and services to agriculture, and agritourism that allows for agricultural lands to be open to the public for varying activities. Another addition to our agricultural districts that responds to community feedback is another new use to allow for a personal storage building to be placed on agricultural properties that do not contain a dwelling. To date, under Land Use Bylaw 708, the ability for agricultural landowners to construct a storage building for personal possessions could not be considered unless a house was built first. Land Use Bylaw 1425 now supports this development type, which we are confident will appease those in the public who have requested that this development type exist for some time. Land Use Bylaw 1425 also contains many other important changes and additions. One that we consider to be instrumental in meeting the overarching goals of this project, which is to provide a flexible and open for business document, is the important addition of updated variance regulations. Within Land Use Bylaw 708, variance powers can only be exercised for varying a defined setback and limited other matters. Land Use Bylaw 1425 will allow variances to be considered on almost all provisions of the bylaw, with the exception of a prescribed use within a land use district, as that is prohibited by the Municipal Government Act. The updated variance provisions are intended to reduce the number of applications that result in an appeal due to minor discrepancies around things like height and footprint, which will allow planning staff to take a much more common sense approach to development permit applications. We'll be able to work directly with the proponents on amicable solutions instead of having to refuse an application because a proponent needs an extra few feet here or there, and the bylaw says no. We strongly believe this will also strengthen ties with our ratepayers and build trust in our planning process and the true purpose of the land use bylaw. Land use bylaw 1425 also introduces an updated planning enforcement process, which we deem important to upholding the integrity of the land use bylaw. Land use bylaw 708 relies solely on warning letters and stop order processes to address infractions under the bylaw. And this process is sufficient and reasonable for resolving the majority of infractions. But for any violations that cannot be appropriately remedied through the stop order process or are so severe they require immediate intervention, Land Use Bylaw 1425 provides for the ability to issue provincial fines under the Municipal Government Act. Although we do expect the issuing of fines to be an option of last resort, when it is required, it will provide for a much more efficient enforcement tool than the stop orders, which we find do often get tied up in the court system and can take years before they become enforceable. This introduction is supported by the county's Enforcement Services Department, who would typically be tasked with administering such fines on the rare occasions that they may be required. Land Use Bylaw 1425 also makes changes that will allow for a more efficient and faster decision-making process on discretionary applications for most householder applications, such as larger accessory buildings, shops and garages, as well as all discretionary uses in our business industrial districts. And it'll achieve this by removing the existing requirement to refer the entire application to neighboring landowners for a 2-week period prior to issuing a decision. Any uses that are non-typical, like variance applications, home-based businesses, or any other use that may have a potential detrimental impact on a neighbor, we will still solicit their input during the application stage. We will note here that on all discretionary uses, all neighbors will get a copy of the decision, and that does include the right to appeal the decision should they wish. This approach will potentially shave weeks off of the determination process on the majority of our discretionary applications. With respect to the public consultation, as we mentioned earlier, this project has been informed through 3 rounds of public participation, 8 open houses, and a dedicated project page offering residents direct contact with project staff through the life of this project. The project also drew local knowledge by being informed through those 20+ workshops with council. Phase 1 of public participation commenced in 2021, where the community was asked to help identify key issues and areas of concern and to help inform a strategy for Phase 2. During this process, 49 comments were made that helped inform the initial direction of the project, where feedback received spoke to the importance of providing clear language, understandable roles, agricultural protection and growth, amongst many other useful comments. Phase 2 public participation commenced in 2023, where the public provided input on the vision and direction of the land use bylaw through a series of 5 public open houses. During this process, 235 attendees came to see the county's vision for the bylaw, resulting in 194 comments being provided. These helped shape the bylaw being considered today. Phase 3 public participation occurred this year in 2025, where Land Use Bylaw 1425 was presented to the public through 3 open houses and an online component where all open house content was available virtually. During those open houses, 80 attendees came to view the draft and hold discussions with planning staff. And during the virtual component, the draft bylaw had been downloaded 213 times by June 5th. Our communications department will follow my presentation with an overview of the What We Heard report from those events. So I won't go into any further detail on those at this point, but the majority of the feedback we received through those appeared supportive of the draft bylaw and provided administration with a sense that our project goals have been successfully achieved. In addition to comments made during the Phase 3 public participation, 2 comments were made directly to the public hearing notification, and those have been included in full as an attachment to the agenda package. Any written comments received prior to June 5th were included in full within the Phase 3 What We Heard reports. With respect to intermunicipal referral of Land Use Bylaw 1425, the document was referred to all adjacent municipalities for comments. Parkland County, Strathcona County, and the County of Wetaskiwin all responded to confirm they have no comments or concerns with respect to the draft land use bylaw. The City of Leduc did request consideration be made for maintaining unfragmented land with minimal development around the boundary of the city. In response to this, the county does not recommend incorporating any additions or amendments to the bylaw to protect rural lands from rural style developments, and notes that the county has no mandate or obligation at this time to preserve lands for annexation by another municipality. That should and would typically be guided through an intermunicipal development plan. To summarize, Land Use Bylaw 1425 is considered to meet all the goals and objectives that the project commenced under. It introduces a new, easy to use and understand land use bylaw that is procedurally aligned with the Municipal Government Act and key county policy documents. Guided by public and council feedback, Land Use Bylaw 1425 provides for a better, more understandable, and more flexible planning process that reduces unnecessary burden, supports economic growth, champions agriculture, agricultural protection, and agricultural growth, as well as increasing landowner choice. Land Use Bylaw 1425 has also been designed to be future-proof by design so that it can be easily amended and updated in response to future amendments to documents such as the Municipal Government Act, the Municipal Development Plan, or any of our current or future area structure plans, meaning that it will be able to continually serve the county as a current, relevant, and regulatory sound land use planning tool during its anticipated lifespan. With that, I will hand you over to our communications manager, Michael, who will provide you a quick overview of the Phase 3 What We Heard report. And after that, we'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richards. Mr. Scheidel, want to come forward, please? And we will be looking at the What We Heard report.
Madam Chair, as I get the presentation ready. Madam Chair and Council, I'm providing the report on the What We Heard report regarding to Phase 3 of the Land Use Bylaw update. The recommendation is that Council accepts the report as information. This report provides a high-level overview of the public input that was captured in the Land Use Bylaw update, Phase 3. Attached is the actual report itself. I won't go into the background as Mr. Richards has done that in spades for Council. Given the prevalence and the impact of this bylaw has on county residents and businesses, public participation was undertaken in multiple points, which included in 2021, conducting Phase 1 of public participation, where we asked the community to help identify issues and areas of concern. In addition, this phase also provided direction for the public participation strategy in Phase 2. That informed in 2023 Phase 2 of public participation that took place, where the public provided input on the vision and the direction of the land use bylaw, which produced the What We Heard report on February 13th. The results of that in Phase 2 And it was extensive public consultation. There were 5 different open houses. And as Mr. Richards alluded to, 235 participants, which resulted overall in 200 comments, which included online comments and email submissions. And significant social media engagement happened. A detailed draft of the land use bylaw was created using this input from the public, council through the workshops, and other stakeholders in phase 1 and 2. In the spring of 2025, a detailed draft land use bylaw, which you have before you, was presented and provided to the public for feedback in the 3 open houses and online survey. How we communicated and promoted this in phase 3 was between May 9th and June 5th. There were 2 county chronicles that went out to 14,534 residents. So this was mailed out to each residence within the county. Your Say Leduc County website had 624 website visits. And Mr. Richards also talked about the 320 downloads that happened with 3 different documents. 213 were the draft land use bylaw, 26 were the what we heard reports from phase 2, and 61 were the land use bylaw updates information. Now, in addition to this, we did a public promotion of the public hearing from May 15th to June 17th. And there was even more visits to the website. 755 total visits. That's 62 visitors per day as average. There were 380 downloads from 232 visitors. So that's quite significant in terms of the amount of engagement that happened with the land use bylaw. There were 6 e-newsletters, 3 specific for land use bylaw through Your Say Leduc County. And that was on May 16th, May 22nd, and May 29th. There were recipients from 227 to 282. There were people that opened the email from 145 to 198, and clicks, which means they click on to the link that goes to the website, from 13 to 32. With the public participation newsletter, there are 3 editions of that, May 14th, 21st, and 29th. I won't go through all the stats there. You can see those in front of you. I think that really contributed to the amount of downloads that we saw on the website. In addition to that, the social media posts helped. Through X and Twitter, there are 9 tweets. There are 512 impressions. What that is when you're scrolling through and people see it on their feed, that's what it is. As opposed to LinkedIn, where we had 2 posts, 859 impressions, and there's 538 reaches. That means people click on the post and then look at the information. So that's quite a bit of engagement there. 12 temporary road signs throughout the county from east to west. There's 2 print advertisements in Connect 39 on May 16th and 23rd to promote this public input. Website notices. Media relations, we sent news releases to local media on May 22nd, followed by a media invitation on May 26th. And just in summary, this is really quite a significant interest and review of the public, by the public, on the land use bylaw. And if you take a look then at how people participated, there were 3 open houses spread out geographically throughout the county, 80 participants, 25 survey respondents. Mr. Richards sat down with 2 of the individuals and got verbal submissions, which is in the verbatim information that's attached, and 3 emails are received. So all of that is within the What We Heard report. And in terms of looking at the input from the verbal, verbatim, I mean, there was, and taking a look at phase 2, all of the themes are represented in both phase 2 and phase 3. There was no new information in terms of themes for vision or direction. There was, of course, some very specific feedback in regards to the draft itself, but in terms of themes, there is no new information. So from a public input standpoint, that's good to hear that in phase two, where the detailed draft was built, there was no new themes for vision or direction. So hopefully that helps council there. I won't go through the survey results in detail. They're there for council to take a look at. So with that, I conclude my report unless there's any questions by council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scheidel. At this time, does council members have any questions for clarification related to the subject of the hearing? So questions of clarification for our staff. I am seeing no questions. Mr. Richards, is there any relevant correspondence that has not been included in our package?
No, Madam Chair, I can confirm that all correspondence received was either in your package or in the report directly.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you gentlemen to step back for a minute. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go to our registered speakers. I'm going to start with those registered speakers that are in support. I have one registered speaker in support, and that's Ms. Jolly. Ms. Jolly, if you can come forward, state your full name and your address, and we will provide you 5 minutes for your comments. While you're coming up, I will let you know we are timing. We will give you a 1-minute warning and a 30-second warning at the end of your 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Shirley Jolly. I live at 49253 Range Road 232. And I may not be understanding the process. Is this version of the bylaw the same as the draft? Or was it changed before first reading? I don't know.
Mr. Coleman, I'm going to defer to you. Generally, we just allow people to present right now.
Just for clarification, this version has been given first reading by council.
This is our first reading.
I don't know if it's the same as I'm going to speak to, so
It's okay.
I may not be in support of it.
Okay.
It's just the issue. So do you want me to still
No,
present?
this is your time, Ms. Jolly. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to Land Use Bylaw 1425, and I hope it is the version that I downloaded. If not, I may be way off base. I don't know. When I downloaded the draft in May, I hadn't expected to find the whole bylaw, all 244 pages, and looking substantially different from the old one. Although it took a while, I was able to compare the old with the new to see what had changed. I came up with a few questions, most of which were answered at the 2 open houses I attended, but I still have concerns with the bylaw, which I would like to share with you today. People may or may not know much about the 2 documents that guide development in the county. In other words, the rule books, equally important to those considering development and those who may be impacted by it. And these are what I will focus my comments on today, at the risk of repeating what was just presented by staff. The MDP that was adopted in August of last year identifies 2 distinct districts in the rural area, agricultural and agricultural prime. In the AG district, subdivisions are restricted to 3 titled lots per quarter section, where farmsteads can be as small as 2.5 acres, residential lots can range from 2.5 to 5 acres, and agricultural parcels must be a minimum of 80 acres. The proposed land use bylaw includes revised lists of permitted and discretionary uses for each district, all of which could be considered for any property in that district, no matter the size of the parcel, a concern which I'll come back to in a bit. The permitted uses are the same for both agricultural districts, but there are 12 discretionary uses that would be exclusive to the AG district, this district in which I live. In addition, the new bylaw proposes to direct these discretionary and more likely than not, non-agricultural uses to lower capability land in the AG district, a significant change from what currently exists. And after going through the list, I wasn't sure what would be considered compatible with agriculture or would not unduly affect agriculture, which to me is 2 different things. I'm left wondering what impact these two changes could have on our farm and where we live. Permitted uses are not without their own set of challenges, but since they cannot be appealed, there is no recourse if we have concerns about these uses. Discretionary uses are a completely different matter. I believe they are identified as such for good reason, that being the potential to negatively impact the neighbors, which is why I am left wondering why the new bylaw proposes to move group homes and equestrian facilities from discretionary to permitted uses. I don't think this change will make these developments more acceptable to adjacent landowners if there are concerns, but it certainly will eliminate the right to appeal, and that is something I cannot support. Currently, adjacent landowners must be notified when an application for a discretionary use is submitted. However, the new bylaw proposes to make this process optional in most cases and up to the discretion of the development authority. This may make for a more efficient circulation process for the county, but can leave a landowner out of the loop, something I am extremely concerned about. When it comes to discretionary power, I know it is extremely subjective and the results very much depend on the individual. I don't know if this bylaw will reduce the number of appeals, but my guess is that cutting an affected landowner out of the referral process might do the opposite and in fact actually increase the number of appeals. The referral of a discretionary use is a valuable and often necessary tool, ensuring adjacent landowners are aware of what is being proposed, giving them a chance to comment and table any concerns they have, all before a decision is made. I'm even more convinced of this after hearing someone ask why anyone would have concerns about development in the AG district when there is lots of land available.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay. Obviously my clock is different. That's fine.
You're now into 30 seconds. You're closing. Thank you very much. Do council members have any questions for the speaker? I am seeing none. Oh, that was our one registered speaker. Is that correct? So we will go to speakers who are non-registered, and we will start with in support. Is there anyone present in council chambers wishing to speak in support of the bylaw? I will call a second time. I will call a third time. Are there anyone present in council chambers wishing to speak opposed to the bylaw? I will call a second time. And I will call a third time. No one is coming forward. With that, I'm going to ask if we could have Mr. Richards and our administration come back forward for any further clarifying questions, pardon me, from council. With that, do we have any clarifying questions from council? And again, not a debate. These are clarifying questions. Go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. There was a letter that was submitted that's in our package from Mr. Schmidt, questioning the application process for a subdivision application, and had referred to there being a section in it that said any other reports, and the vague nature of that, the documents that would be required. Can you just speak to that if there was any changes made to that section?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll just hand this over to Charlene, as I believe there's quite a history around those comments.
Ms. Haberland, whenever you're ready.
Through the chair. The comments that were received by Mr. Schmidt, we did review, and they are all related to the matters of subdivision and development regulations, which already sets out the requirements for a subdivision application and what should and should not be required. That particular statement comes from the matters of the subdivision and development regulations, which just does allow any municipality to allow for any other information that may be required to process an application.
Any further questions for administration of clarification? I have a question. It is again from the What We Heard report under email responses. and it was related to the decision for county to put some setbacks related to solar and wind. Additionally, this landowner was wondering about landscaping or setback requirements related to battery storage projects. Would this be included in the land use bylaw, or the, things like landscaping? Is that a development permit item? If someone could provide some clarification, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe with respect to the use that's been discussed, it would be subject to the standard setback parameters in there. I believe there's extra parameters around the distance that they must be from another dwelling. With respect to being able to add by condition the requirement for extra screening, we can certainly do that during the application. One thing we do have to be cognizant of with that specific development type is it is one where the decision ultimately lies with the AUC, the Utilities Commission. And I believe it's pretty typical for them to dictate the conditions of that approval, and then the county would subsequently follow them. So anything that the county deemed would be appropriate to add to that decision, once an application is in with the AUC, the county would submit their recommendations to the AUC with respect to buffers, increased setbacks.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And if I may, that would also deal with other types of developments that are handled by the NRCB or things like that. The decision is made outside of the council, and we can make suggestions, but we are not the determining factor. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any further clarifying questions on the What We Heard report and or the land use bylaw presentation that we've just received? I am seeing none. Does administration have any final comments?
Through the chair, yes, if I may, I'll just finish off by reaffirming that through the dedicated internal process that has shaped this document, it has also been informed by so many great discussions and useful feedback by both our residents and yourself as council. These processes have resulted in a land use bylaw that we believe meets all the objectives set for this project. Administration believe that Land Use Bylaw 1415 will be a land use bylaw that retains an air of familiarity whilst giving more choice, being easier to read, easier to follow, easier to work with, easier to update, more flexible, and most importantly, has been created with our ratepayers at the forefront. We will also state that the land use bylaw is a living document and it can be amended at any point through a simple public hearing process. If adopted, land use bylaw 1425 will be subject to intense monitoring, with data and feedback being collected from development officers using the bylaw, as well as from our ratepayers and applicants who are using the document. Updates in that respect will be brought back to council at regular intervals for discussion, where any required updates will be discussed and recommended, and if needed, they can be implemented shortly after at a public hearing through council's blessing. Our own planning staff internally have reviewed the bylaw, and feedback on it has been great. They are excited to start using it for administering planning decisions in the county and hope to do so for years to come. So with that, administration's original recommendation does remain, and that be that council provides second and third reading to bylaw 1425.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Last questions for administration from council at this time? Okay. Following the conclusion of the public hearing, council will discuss the comments made by public and render a decision on the subject of the public hearing. No further public comments will be received. So this concludes our public hearing at 2:38 p.m. And the public hearing is concluded, which leaves council for debate. Councillor Smith, the floor is yours.
Again, thank you for the presentation. Very thorough. I appreciate the comments from the public. I think that's important because that has definitely been the direction in this document. And I just want to review what administration has put out with their recommendation today, that the land use bylaw 1425 has been created as a fully in-house designed and drafted document being influenced through 3 district rounds of public consultation that included 8 public open houses. So today We've spent a lot of time, we've gone to our public numerous time, and a dedicated project website offering continuous feedback and discussion opportunities with planning staff through the duration of the project. Furthermore, land use bylaw 1425 has been informed by over 20 project-specific workshops, 60 hours of workshop time in this chamber, informed by our public, changes made, put back to admin and brought forward, which I think is exceptional. And this is done with county council in order to create a truly by Leduc County, for Leduc County land use bylaw, and proud of this. And again, it is amendable going forward. I assume it will be, but it has been modernized and made simple. Again, appreciating all of the work that the public has done and my fellow councillors. I would be prepared to move second reading of the bylaw today.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Second reading is on the floor, and I will open the floor. Comments, questions, and debate. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Just a comment. We, like Councillor Smith said, have spent many hours working on this document and ensuring that we ran through every scenario and tested each idea on a real life, real time scenario. And I think I'm pretty sure that we've got it 98% right, right? There's always room for error, hence the amendments. But I'm really proud to have done this with this council and be able to make a document that desperately needed an update to make it the document that it is today, so the county can continue to grow. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Blaser.
Yeah, I'd like to thank our planning staff. I did have a few residents with some concerns, and they were ones that were buried in the last document that were never really brought forward until recently. And planning staff worked with them. They have been revised, and I thank you very much for that. I've got some happy residents in regards to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will take my turn in the queue. I will be supporting second reading. Would like to thank wholeheartedly Ms. Jolly, who came today to speak in person, as well as I know was at the New Sarepta open house. I attended there as well. And I appreciated her comments today. Council discussed long and hard any change from discretionary to permitted. And as we heard Councillor Lewis say, we ran through examples of when it would be a good idea and when it's not a good idea. We've tested it out as much as we could. So I appreciate the comment. And certainly, I'm just going to go back to one of the examples Miss Jolly gave, which was around, moving equestrian from discretionary to permitted. If the farming of horses and the use of horses isn't a key agricultural use, although a business, but so is every other piece of agriculture, was part of our discussion, then what is? And so those were the types of discussions we had. That item actually had come up and was discussed at our table when that decision was made. I also appreciate the comments provided in our what we heard from New Sarepta that were very, very specific. And again, I will comment that our council spent a great deal of time wording and rewording and I'm going to say to our administration during our 20 meetings. And sometimes we would change a word from shall to may or may to shall. It would come back in the next iteration and we'd go, well, no, that's not what we meant. And so again, I believe that, as Councillor Lewis said, this is as good as we get it until we start to test it. Thank you, Mr. Richards. This is a living document. And if we get to the point where we have 138 amendments like we did in the first one, sorry, let me take it back. I hope we never get to 138, because if we get that many, it means it's no longer meeting the needs of either our council, our residents, or our businesses. And so that's our job. That is the job of this table, is to be the watchdog for that. So I am very proud to be supporting second reading. And know that this is a great document moving forward. And the floor is open for any other comments. Counselor Birdie?
Yeah, thank you to everyone involved. I don't believe that there's a more open and transparent way to conduct this process. There was feedback, input from the community all along the way, and I believe that everyone has been heard in a very fair and clean manner. Therefore, I would be supporting this bylaw.
Great. Counselor Scobie?
I make kind of the same comment. I support this. We've put a lot of work into it. I'm not gonna going with Kelly's 98%. We've got a good document. There's going to be scenarios that come up, but we've also built in the ability to make amendments to this. So I think we've done a great job of thrashing through this numerous times and have a good document with the ability to make changes on the go if it becomes necessary.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, with that, I will call second reading on land use bylaw, and I've lost the number 14-25. All in favor? Thank you. Looking for someone to move third reading. Counselor Verdi will move third reading. Any further comments, questions on third reading? I will just make a comment, and again, that is a heartfelt thank you. Actually, this one is going to go to our CAO, our county manager, who reminded us at every meeting that this process will take as long as it takes until county council is happy with it. There were lots of days when at least I was feeling we were getting too deep in and we were taking too much time, and he reassured us that this is our work. This is our document, and not to only move as quickly as we are. And I am more than satisfied to be able to support third reading today. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? That is third reading. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Colin, for your specifically hard work on this. We know you were the lead and you had a big team behind you, but thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to department report 6A, which is engineering and utilities, and it is a policy. And we have Mr. Mariglod and Mr. Hickey coming forward.
Good afternoon, Council. Administration is bringing forth a policy update for you today. Administration brought this policy back on May 22nd to the Municipal Policy Review Committee, and it's recommended today to bring it to Council for approval. I'm going to jump right in to the changes that were made. First major change with the policy was adopting it into the new template. It's currently sitting in the old template. So one of the first things we had to do was put it into the new one. Secondly, we went line by line, edited and wordsmithed the document, and that's evident within the red line version change in your agenda package, if you want to look at that in more detail. And then the biggest change comes from the level of service table and our service targets. So when reviewing this, specifically, the bulk water station and the wastewater receiving stations were supposed to operate at 95% of the calendar year, which roughly translates to 26 days of downtime. We thought that was a little too high, so we upped the percentage to 99% of the calendar year, which fits our standards a little bit better. We also changed the emergency call-out time to respond to within 30 minutes compared to within 15 minutes. And then our municipal policy committee members may recognize that when we first brought the update, we said that the customer water service, we upped that up to 99.9. We brought it back down to 99 as it was a little too ambitious. We also did change the wastewater receiving station uptime, used to be called the septage receiving station uptime, so we changed that name. And then I also do want to apologize, the document is glitched again. This happened at the policy committee where the table for some reason shifted down under standard 2. It should be under standard 1. I apologize for that. But other than that, administration believes that this policy is ready for council's approval, but we're happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much. I'm going to, as I do with policies, go to the chair of our policy committee. Any initial comments, questions?
Not a whole lot that hasn't been said. Yeah, we kind of upped our expectations of what our level of service is going to be. Cleared up the document, cleaned it up and a little clearer and created a good document again.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Just for clarity, the bullet points that are in there should be under number 1. Is that correct?
So the table that you see right here, the level of service name and then minimum level of service target should be under 1. And then under 2, it should say level of service shall consider be based on the following county bylaws. And then these other 4 bullet points. Yes.
I hope all the issues with this formatting aren't an issue of what's going to come with our policy. My question, and I am someone who believes that we need to have things to measure. Will the measurements that are provided, like when we talk about the notification within 90 minutes, is that tracked and then shared back with us in our quarterly reports, or is that become a KPI, or are those just numbers that look good?
No, those are numbers that we can track. We're not tracking the planned unplanned outages, for instance, because that happens so often. But things like uptime for the water, bulk of water outlets and the wastewater receiving station is actually in every single one of the activity reports. So things like that, which we can track automatically, and is a nice and easy one to report. Something that becomes a little bit more operational, something that we can track and make sure we abide by as well. So.
And again, I know we see it in our public works meetings. It's great. Council relies a lot on our quarterly reports. So that type of data in there is very, 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 very helpful for us. Okay, thank you. Any further questions on UT 07, utilities level of service? Seeing none, Councillor Scobie, would you move that? Okay. That's okay.
Move the recommendation the council approves the UT 07 utilities level of service policy as presented.
Thank you very much. Well, with the formatting being with the little ghost in the machine gun. Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you for that policy. Any further questions? None? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to a second policy, Mr. Honesty, CD 06, Community Partnership Policy. Love this one.
Good afternoon. I've asked Andrea to join us as well. Obviously, she had a key role to play in the development of this policy and the work that we do every day. This is a new policy for the county and is one that we found was needed to reflect the work that we do in the recreation department. As council is very aware, we work very hard with our partners across the region and being our not-for-profit volunteers. We have more than 20 facilities that we partner with and more than 50 community associations that we partner with regularly. This policy reflects the work we do that has been our practice for several years and is something that we felt would fit well within a policy to leave that lasting legacy for both council and administration of why we do the work we do and the value that it has for Leduc County. This includes our efforts towards workshops, funding, training, development, as well as our partnerships within programs and events that we host across the region. And that's essentially is what this document does, is reflect the work that we do every day and shows the value of the work that we do and how much we appreciate the work of our not-for-profits across the region. So with that, if there's any questions, we will answer those for council.
Councillor Scobie, starting with you.
It comes very clean. We didn't, policy, we didn't do a whole lot of ripping and tearing on it. I think it's set up to serve the purpose quite well, and be a good policy moving it forward.
Thank you. I think one of the big changes was just the title. Is that correct? I just want to, I guess, say how important this policy is because it actually reflects longstanding work being done and probably some of the most important work around partnerships that we do because it's partnerships with our own community halls and things like that. So I'm very proud of this policy and I would be happy to move policy that council approve policy, the CD06 community partnership policy as presented. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move forward to our 25-year person. I think we have two from you. We seldom see you, Miss Fadrick, and we see you 3 times today. So you have the next two, 6C1, which is removal of reserve designation, and then request for adjustment of property taxes. So 6C1, when you're up and ready.
Madam Chair, Council, I'm here for a recommendation for the removal of a reserve designation for the purpose of sale for county-owned land located in Rockcrest Estates, Plan 0724797, Block 1, Lot 11 MR. The recommendation is that Council directs administration to advertise for a public hearing pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, Section 674, to remove the reserve designation for the lot for the subsequent sale of the parcel. It's also that Council approves subsequently to the removal of the municipal reserve designation that administration will utilize policy CM07 land disposal to direct the sale of the lot through a private party negotiation. The removal of the reserve designation would allow for the sale of the land to an interested party who would like to build a residence on the property. The Assessment and Land Management Department was approached by an interested party who would like to purchase the lot located in Rockcrest Estates. Administration has concluded that this parcel can be sold as future county need of the property is not anticipated. The sale of this county municipal reserve would be contingent on the dedication of 5 meters along the south border of the property to allow for the potential of a path to be constructed. As the property's municipal reserve land, MGA Section 674 sets out the requirements for a public hearing for the removal of the reserve designation and the advertising requirements as outlined in MGA Section 606. After the legislative public hearing advertisement requirements are met and the subsequent public hearing has been held, Council can consider the sale of the property. The notice of a public hearing must be advertised. An notice placed in the county website and County Chronicle, and adjacent landowners will be notified of the public hearing as well. The public hearing is scheduled for August 26, 2025. Upon removal of the designation, the property can be sold at fair market value. A third-party appraisal will be completed to determine fair market value. Proceeds from the sale of this land would be transferred to the Capital Fund Reserve, Statutory Municipal Reserve. Administration also recommends that council consider the direct sale of the county-owned parcel to the interested party at fair market value, affording them the first opportunity to purchase the property, given that they initially brought the request forward. In addition, the interested party has approached residents within the Rockcrest Estate subdivision and submitted a signed letter indicating community support for the purchase of the lot. Below is a diagram or aerial photo of the lot showing that plus or minus 20.25 of an acre would be dedicated for the road plan, allowing for the potential development of a pathway, and exact acres would be determined by legal survey.
Thank you very much for the report. Questions from council? Council Lewis.
Thank you. Understanding this is currently a municipal reserve, do we maintain this lot and mow it and keep the weeds down at this time?
Through the chair, it's my understanding that yes, we do.
So sale of this would eliminate that from Dean's bailiwick of duties. Thank you.
I guess my question, I'm going to go to our county manager and put him on the spot here. Every time we do a subdivision, we save some land for municipal reserves. So my understanding is the purpose of that is once it's built, then you have a place where you could have some sort of recreational area for people living in that subdivision. When we say we don't need this, does that mean that this subdivision is built out in such a way that the use of that piece of land for something else, for the intent isn't there?
Madam Chair, Council, I mean, the MGA allows for process of taking land in MR.
Correct.
Caching.
Correct.
Traditionally, these old country residential subdivisions, typically mom and pop developers, and so the easy path was for them to give the land instead of bidding a cash. Now, sometimes that land is utilized for park space and development for the community. By and large, most of these are, sitting vacant and we're maintaining or mowing, or may have a lease agreement in place where someone might be taking hay on it or what have you. We have no plans in the foreseeable future for this piece to be a kind of park development. But not every parcel is like this. I think that's why we bring it to council for these considerations. Is there may be times where we can have or features for that, but in this particular case, we're comfortable with the recommendation suggesting that we use that and sell the property.
Okay. And again, this is the recommendation is to advertise for the public hearing, which is the first step. Once we hear at the public hearing, the council will make a decision, correct? Okay, thank you. Any further questions? I just was being clear on process. Oh, looking for someone to make a recommendation. Councillor Lewis?
That council directs administration to advertise for the public hearing pursuant to Municipal Government Act, section 674, to remove the reserve designation from plan 0724797, block 1, lot 11 MR, roll 725020 for the subsequent sale of the parcel.
Okay, so the recommendation is to go ahead and advertise for the first step in the process. Are we clear on that? All in favor? It's unanimous. Second motion from someone? Go ahead, Councillor Birdie.
I motion that council approves subsequently to remove a removal of the municipal reserve designation, that administration will utilize policy CM07 land disposal to direct the land sale of plan 0724797 block 1 lot 11 MR roll 7522020, I think, through a private party negotiation.
Well done with your young eyes. So that is the second motion. Go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
Comment. I think it's very upfront that the resident has gone to the other
absolutely.
neighbors. That's a massive step in the process, but prior to even approaching the county. So I would support this.
I will be supporting it as well. Good comment. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or debate on the motion? None? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. 6C2, request adjustment of property taxes due to a fire.
Right underneath it. So this is a request for adjustment of property taxes due to a fire on tax roll 1289000. Recommendation is that council approves a refund of $553.74 for the prorated portion of taxes to account for the time that the improvement destroyed by the fire was not on the property. Another option is that council deny the refund of $553.74. This is under the authority of section 3471B of the Municipal Government Act, which allows council, if it considers equitable to do so, to cancel or refund all or part of the tax. On January 3rd of 2025, the residence located at 25178 Township Road 490 was destroyed by fire. A request was received on May 21st, 2025 to look into a tax refund for the property. It is at the discretion of council to prorate, refund, or defer the taxes. The adjustment due to fire applies to the improvements destroyed by the fire, not the land or other unaffected improvements. There is currently no existing county policy regarding the adjustment of property taxes due to a fire or other disaster. And
Thank you. We unfortunately have a few of these every year. Looking for someone to, if there's no comments or questions, move the motion. Councillor Scobie, thank you very much.
Move the recommendation, the council approves the refund of $553.74 for tax roll 1289000 for the prorated portion of taxes to account for the time that the improvement destroyed by fire was not on the property.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 61, which is the establish 2025 tax sale aid, and I believe we have Ms. Quok.
Good afternoon. I'm here to recommend that council establish the 2025 tax sale date for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 10 a.m. Administration carries out tax recovery in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. Each year, administration follows a legislated process to offer for sale by public auction any parcel of land listed on the tax arrears list, provided the arrears remain unpaid. The arrears list, which include properties with more than 1 year of unpaid tax, that is taxes unpaid for over 2 years, was submitted to the registrar. As of March 31st, 2024, there were 40 tax notifications placed on properties. The Duke County will offer these parcels for sale by public auction if the arrears are not paid prior to the tax sale date. Currently, there are 11 properties subject to this process. As required by the MGA, the Duke County will publish an advertisement in the August 15th, 2025 issue of the Alberta Gazette. Additionally, in accordance with the alternate advertising bylaw 2022-21, advertisements will be posted on the county website and published in the County Chronicle in October 2025. A copy of the advertisement will be also sent to the owner of the parcel of land and any person who has interest listed on the title.
Thank you very much. And again, this is another one of those housekeeping items. I'm happy to make the recommendation that council establish the tax sale date for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 10 a.m. at County Centre. Any further comments, questions, or debate on that? Councillor Smith.
Just clarification again, there are 40 properties and 11 to sale.
Yes, because from March 31st, 2024 up till now, the 40 has been decreased to 11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I am seeing no other questions. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. And now we'll move down to planning and development and the Regional Housing Needs Assessment Endorsement Report. We have Mr. Evans and Mr. Mahanik.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Council. this is the Regional Housing Need Assessment Endorsement Report. The recommendation is that council receives the Regional Housing Need Assessment Report as information and authorizes the administration to provide endorsement letter to the City of Edmonton for the purpose of supporting grant application to the federal government to alleviate housing issues in the City of Edmonton. The alternate option is that council receive the Regional Housing Need Assessment Report as information and denies providing endorsement letter to the City of Edmonton. The reason for this report is to seek council direction on the county's response to the request to endorse the study. The authority for this report comes from MGA section 180 subsection 1, which provides that council may act only by resolution or by council procedure bylaw 0825. Section 9 of the MDP talks about collaboration, regional collaboration in relation to affordable housing and major public facilities. So to give you a background, that on April 4, 2025, Leduc County received the Regional Housing Need Assessment Report from the City of Edmonton. The city requested a letter of endorsement from 13 municipalities that were formerly part of the EMRB. The report mentioned that this project was completed as per the directions of the EMRB CEO's table and therefore requires endorsement from participating municipality. At the time of writing of this report, the regional housing assessment has been endorsed by 4 out of 13 municipalities in the region. The report mentioned the rapid population growth in the region, causing increasing housing challenges, which needs coordinated housing solutions. The need for the housing need assessment was identified through previous discussions in the EMRB by partners. In July 2024, the federal government launched the Canada Public Transit Fund to support housing and transit-oriented communities. EMRB municipalities expressed some interest in applying for the grant, and one of the requirements was eligibility to have the need assessment being done. So the project initially, when the study focused on the partner municipalities, it excluded other municipalities and First Nation communities. The report aims to enhance understanding of housing and services across the region, guiding strategies and improving access to funding. The assessment, this study was done by 2 consultants for the City of Edmonton. One was qualitative, one was quantitative. The report highlights the unique characteristics of each municipality and consider impact of emerging trends. It supports local housing policies and encourages collaboration to address housing challenges at the regional level. So the current regional housing need assessment report and its endorsement by municipalities is aiming to support the City of Edmonton application for the Canada Public Transit Fund. This is also a requirement for municipalities who have a population of 30,000 and more. The need assessment is required for those communities. Leduc County has less population, so it doesn't apply on that. So the county reviewed the report, and we are presenting our perspective of the report, which is that the report provides key insights and data about the county housing profile. The data has been collected from States Canada, Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation, and other sources. And they have different categories of data, like on population, employment, immigration, median age, household size, income, tenants. So the interesting aspect with regards to Leduc County was that they mentioned that Leduc County has the highest percentage, 6% population in core housing needs. So core housing needs is that kind of need where the people who owns the house, but they don't have the funding to do the necessary repairs. So those are the population segment. They also mentioned that 27.6% of county population is self-employed. So self-employed means that there is a volatility in their income. So that is another aspect of it. And our housing stock, they mentioned that county housing is 91% single-family dwellings, whilst they compare with City of Edmonton, which is 49.6%. The report does not stipulate any specific actions required by municipalities beyond the current request for endorsement. The county inquired from the city about potential implications associated with providing an endorsement letter by the county. So we received a response from the city which said that, to clarify, I quote, there are no specific implications or requirements associated with signing the letter of support for the regional housing need assessment. Their purpose is to simply acknowledge that this report was being identified earlier and now those participating municipalities are endorsing it. Decisions regarding the county use of the report content after its publication will be entirely at the discretion of the county. On June 4th, city indicated that they are waiting for endorsement letter. The letter will support their application for transit funding, and they want to showcase this letter, like sign it and put, when they are publishing this study, they want to show this collaboration and showing on top of the study. In administration opinion, the report provides some key perspectives into housing needs for Leduc County and other municipalities, and will support Edmonton effort to address housing issues in their municipality. Therefore, administration supports endorsement of the report for the purpose of supporting grant application. Here, I just want to bring to your attention, Madam Chair, that on June 20th, there was a meeting being arranged for the CEOs of the region. And we are not aware of the outcome of that meeting, that what was discussed. So I will request our CEO to comment on that.
Well, I'm not sure you can request him to do it, but I can.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay. Okay, thank you. Again, this did come out of EMRB, despite housing not being within the mandate of EMRB. There was a great interest by the members to try and understand what the housing is, and that makes sense. I mean, people move through the region. When I read through it, I found it to be quite concerning about some of the things that came out about Leduc County. And I think there's information in this report that we could perhaps use through FCSS or other things. I'm looking at page 51 of the report. It said Leduc County has the highest percentage of homeowners in core housing need at 6%. I would not have guessed that. And so there's little bits and pieces in here that perhaps we can use. I think it's interesting that there's a little bit of pressure for us to endorse the letter for a different purpose, but I just wanted to make that comment about, I think there's information we could glean from here that might help even our housing body as well. So with that, I will open the floor for any other comments or questions. Councillor Smith.
The motion and recommendation is pretty straightforward, but if you look at the last paragraph, the administration, in their opinion, have made a couple of suggestions or recommendation that administration also recommends, including clarification that Leduc County has not independently verified the results of the study and reserves endorsement of the studies that relates to Leduc County. Should that be encompassed within the recommendation of those conditions?
I believe, Councillor Smith, if you would like to put that on the table, I think it is our administration who provide us advice and ensure that we are making sound decisions on behalf of our residents. Would you like to add that to the motion?
Well, if I could, through the chair,
Yeah.
ask our CAO if there is a recommendation that be included in the motion endorsement to send a letter.
Detail, Madam Chair, I think my recommendation to council would be, as far as I would recommend you taking this, is to receive the report's information. And that would be the sum of the motion.
Okay.
Perfect. Would you like to make that motion, Councillor Smith?
If I could, it says the option here before, and again, I just want to make sure it's correct that council receives the regional housing needs assessment report as information. And there's a second part, and denies providing an endorsement letter to the city of Edmonton. Should that be attached?
Well,
receive it for information.
Right, so not including the other part. I had read ahead for that. I'd like to apologize.
We are so used to that. So the motion for everyone is up on the screen and it reads that council receives the Regional Housing Needs Assessment Report as information.
Thank you.
Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. I'm happy that this is just being received as information. I have concerns with this, considering it doesn't apply to the Duke County. I'm not sure what the data, it might help us, it might not, but it's not quite clear on what other sources are for their data collection. The letter back from the city talks about they're just needing, to know that the CAO accepts it, not necessarily council. So I would not support the addition if that was on there, but I will support it just as
information. Thank you. All right.
Here's a comment on it. Is anything that's been discussed with the city Edmonton report or according to housing needs and anything else is that they have all the problems and all the money's going to Edmonton and there is no reason for funding outside the limits. So they're asking us to support something that they are not going to support anybody but their own needs. So
You're happy with just information? Okay. Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions? I am seeing none. All in favor? It is unanimous and we are adjourned at 3:21. Thank you very much. Thank you to council and administration